Welcome back, everybody, to the Birdies and Bourbon Show. We're super excited today to have Chad Parker, the GM, COO, and Director of Golf. Cheers.
There he is.
From Eastlake Golf Club in Atlanta, Georgia. Chad, thanks so much for taking some time. I hear you got a little event coming up in a few weeks at your course.
We do, yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. We're a week away from players showing up for the Tour Championship. We officially open for business next Monday at 12 noon. I doubt we'll have anybody come in that day, just simply because we're not starting until Friday. We're going to end on Memorial or Labor Day. So we think, and the guys have been playing 2 weeks in a row. They're probably going to go home for a day, do some laundry, and just not be around the golf course. So yeah, we're excited. We're ready to go. Yeah,
awesome. Well, before we get into the course and the championship, go Bulldogs, MSU grad, finished their professional golf degree there. Came to Eastlake in '96. I think you were at a few courses in Mississippi, or I'm sorry, in Alabama, right?
Yeah,
out of
NorthRiver.
college.
Yep.
Yeah, haven't had a chance to play that, but would love to. You got quite a pedigree, man. So you've hosted 14 PGA Tour events, 3 major amateurs. You recognized 13 times by Association of Golf Merchandisers Top 100 Golf Shops. I didn't get a chance to vote in that, but I absolutely would. I've been there several times to your course, and great job, great merchandise, awesome logo there. Let's see.
You can always vote with your credit card.
That's right.
It's really the best way to vote.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I've definitely made some donations in there.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yeah, recognized top 40 under 40 by the Atlanta Business Chronicles. You got a golf charity started up, and I'm not sure, is that the one you're running with Cooch in Alabama?
Stuart Sink.
Sink, sorry.
And I ran that. We actually ended it a couple of years ago. We ran it for 15 years, called the Healing Place Charity Championship, and we raised a lot of money for a great organization in the town that Stuart and I grew up in.
That's awesome.
Oh, perfect. Well, there is one thing that I want to get into, but we'll save that for a little bit later. It's a little deeper in your bio. Looks like one of your passions, but we'll get to that acronym a little later. So, yeah, we can't miss on that one. I got some hard questions for you too on that one. I want to know if you're an Alabama guy or a Georgia guy since you're living here now. But so we're definitely different times, right? And we don't want to spend this talking about COVID, but you've had the Tour Championship there for 14 years, and obviously it's going to look a little bit different with no fans. I'm sure it's been easier setting up, right? So you don't have the grandstands, et cetera, that are going to be all over the course. So what's the experience been like for you, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that we've actually had this will be the 20th time we've hosted the Tour Championship. I think it's 14 maybe in a row. Because when I first started, we used to alternate with Champions Golf Club in Houston. They would go out there, and then, we would come back. And then starting in 2004, we've had it every year. But this year is certainly unique. I mean, from the very beginning, all of the discussions that we've had with the tour, has just been the best guess. And we spent a lot of time talking to some of the early events, what they were doing, but even those. The protocols changed week to week, and it really varied depending on what city and or state they were in. For example, we know the folks that run the Memorial pretty well, and they had 2 events back to back, and they had protocols change from week 1 to week 2. Yeah. In Ohio, it was just there's so many unknowns, and so we've got a good plan in place. We're the last event of the season. Everyone knows what's working. The players, from what I understand, are comfortable. I mentioned, my friend Stuart Sink he didn't make the playoffs, but he's been playing a lot. So I talked to him about what it felt like, to be inside the clubhouse and everything is basically a TV dinner, in terms of the way we do meals. But
sure,
we're just like everyone else. We're having to roll with the punches, and we just want to do it as safely as possible, and hopefully pull the event off, and then hope things return to normal back in 21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't we all? That's let's hope for that for sure. So I'll talk a little about the course, if you don't mind. So mm-hmm. I'm just down the street from you, a mile and a half or so from the course, and we've been having a lot of rain.
Yep.
And it hadn't been sprinkles, right? I mean, I guess we're getting some of the output of the storms that are kind of hitting the Gulf, et cetera. So what's preparation look like for you guys? And I would say I've had a chance to play Eastlake several times. I played it in I guess the original format is the format that it's in now. But for many years, what is now the front nine was the back nine, right? You ended on the par three. So and again, beautiful course, beautiful layout, great walking course. But with the greens, right? I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, that's what I struggled with the most there, and probably most people, right? I mean, that's kind of the defense of the main defense of the course, I would say, are the greens. So what does that look like as far as getting those things ready, getting them fast, just with all the rain and everything that's going on?
Well, I mean, a certain amount of rain is essential. We all know that. But, over the last, let's say 30 days, I think we've had rain 14 of the 30 days in some measurable amount. And many of those have been, downpours that wash bunkers and mulch and pine straw and all that. And it's just extra man hours to keep up with all that. The other thing to remember for us with the rough, the way it is for the Tour Championship, we really can only mow that when it's dry. You can mow it when it's wet. It's just like your yard. Imagine the highest you've ever seen your yard and then going out and mowing it right after a huge rainstorm. It's not a lot of fun.
Sure.
And you multiply that by, 80 some odd acres of rough. You have to take the dry times when you get them. I mean, today was a great example. It was raining this morning. Sun came out this afternoon. When I left the club about an hour or so ago, we had mowers everywhere because we had to basically take advantage of that and cut it when it's dry. So a lot of preparation. One of the most intriguing things about hosting a PGA Tour event is the level of detail that we get from the PGA Tour agronomists in terms of the conditions that they want to see. Back in July, I got I think it was an 18 or 19 page detailed report, all of the targets that we're going to be expected to hit, from however much moisture is in the green to the green speed, fairway height, tee height, when we're putting out applications of certain fertilizers, down to the nth level of detail. And what a lot of people may not know is that information actually goes up to the player advisory council. So I'm copied on the emails of players that are on the council, and they're interested in that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so it's not just thrown together. It's a lot of science behind it. And then when you take Mother Nature doing what she's done the last, let's say 30 days or so, it's difficult to execute on that, but we have to, do the best that we can and hope for kind of a normal weather pattern.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it looks like normal weather pattern is going to be rain in our future for the next upcoming weeks. So, which it's not abnormal for this time of year. And I didn't look, but I think this tournament, your tournament's being played about the same time that it would be played, right?
We're a week behind. We normally would be right now. Would be starting today. So. A few years ago when the schedule was revamped, the tour wanted to get out of college football, and Labor Day really is the kickoff of college football now. Well, it used to be.
It was. Right.
And so we wanted to get done before that. There's so much going on in Atlanta Labor Day weekend, in addition to, the Chick-fil-A playoff or the kickoff games. Some years there's two of those. So there's just a lot of reasons not to try to compete with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So no fans, I'm sure. Well, no fan. Yeah.
No fans.
No fans. And this is going to be a little unique. A lot of the courses that we've seen played over the past several weeks, they've been, the courses are cut into neighborhoods. So even though no fans, obviously if you live on the course, people are kind of inviting people over, bringing them around. You expecting a lot of kind of hanger-ons around the gate. You really can't see a lot, the way you've kind of got things, with the fence and all the trees, et cetera. And then especially on the front nine, if you think along the back road back there, it's not 2nd Avenue, but the one street out. Allendale, yeah. So I guess, no concerns there.
There may be some of that, and all that we ask is if you do decide to do that, to just follow the protocols of socially distance, wearing a mask, and trying to be safe as you can. So,
sure.
We don't expect a big problem with it, but we have plans in place should we encounter anything like that.
Right.
That becomes out of hand. We don't really expect any issues with it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I'm sure you've been watching some golf because there's, I guess basketball kind of is on Baseball's kind of on. So who, if you can answer, and if it's a fair question, so we're heading to Olympia Fields this weekend. What a hell of a performance by DJ over the weekend, man. I mean, that guy, Dan and I were talking, we recorded last night, and it's just like, sometimes DJ's there, but he's really not there. And, this week, man, boy, was he there. I mean, in all sense of the measure. So, if you can say who you think is going to make it.
Well, I was looking at the field right before I dialed into this. I mean, we've got 3 former champions in the top 30 right now. We've got a lot of guys playing some great golf. If you look at the scores at TPC Boston, there was a lot of low round shot, and DJ just happened to shoot 4 in a row.
Yep.
So there's a lot of guys that are playing really well, and DJ or no one really ever hits every green regulation like he did yesterday. And if you're putting decent and you do that, you're going to shoot low. Yeah. And he did. And so, we'll see. It's a grind. If you're a golfer, that some weeks you have it, some weeks you don't. And one of the hardest things to do is to continue to do that week after week. Especially if you start struggling a little bit with your swing, which could happen, at any moment. But we're excited about the field. One of the things that's interesting storylines for us is we've got 2 Eastlake Cup alumni that are in the field right now, including Scotty and Victor Hovland.
Nice.
Scotty shot 59, and he was the medalist when he played for Texas in the Eastlake Cup. And so we knew it was only going to be a matter of time before we'd have alumni from the college, the country's best college programs that make it back. And we've got 2 in the field right now in the top 30. I think Scotty's like number 14 and Victor is like 24th. So both of them have a great chance of making it to Eastlake, which would be a very interesting, development. So, they got experience there. They know the golf course, and they're not going to back down from anybody.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it'd be great to see those guys. It's great to see them show up, kind of a homecoming for them, right? Coming in 2 aspects as a collegiate player and then as a pro. So
yeah. I just know we talk about the players every week and different types of things that we do on here. And Victor and Scotty have definitely been in the conversation a lot, recently.
Mm-hmm.
Since that return from the COVID break, you saw Victor kind of break out early, and then Scotty within the last 3 weeks has always been in the. But where did he finish at? The PGA top 10 or so, right?
Yeah, fourth. PGA,
yeah. And then last week, you saw what he did last week as well. So it's like, wow, this guy's like breaking out. It's great to see. It's
he's
really
speaking at the right time and a really nice guy. And that's been one of the neatest things about hosting the Eastlake Cup for us is getting to see both the best male and female college players and how they play the golf course and how they think about things. Is very interested in, and it's helpful actually to us and to see, because a lot of those players are longer than the average tour player.
Mm-hmm.
They hit it in different places than we see on tour. You've got guys like Bryson and DJ and a few others that bomb it every time, but there's a lot of those college players that just swing out of their shoes. And if they connect, it's just amazing how far. But the dispersion is obviously a lot greater because you can't play golf that way. But yeah, we're excited about the field. It's going to be a different year. I'm going to be wearing a mask and staying away from people and trying to host it the best that we can.
Well, last week was really kind of it was great to see. Like you said, DJ put 4 good rounds together, but to finish minus 30, we haven't seen that very often. We saw, at Hilton Head, Cal was alluding to this a little earlier in terms of just Hilton Head, how that was played at a different time of year than it usually was. And I think that kind of caused the course to play a little bit different than usual in terms of its defenses or whatnot. But it sounds like with Eastlake, you might have some rain to deal with, but overall it's going to play a lot like it has in the past.
It will. You're right. I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, you take it, a golf course 2 hours down the road, how much different that's going to play in November versus it plays in April.
It's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of that because it's, it could be, that time of year, the original scheduled time and date. We could get some kind of crappy weather, right? It can be chilly. We can get a lot of rain. That's not uncommon, but November's going to be a really different. So yeah, I mean, I think good thing for you guys and at Eastlake is, you're not having to really deal with abnormal weather conditions. It's
No.
close enough to kind of what you get. So, you know what you're getting into as far
Yeah.
as, getting it to your point, right? Getting the course right. You know what the specs are. You've been through the routine. So, so fortunate for you that worked out in that
Yeah.
sense. So, yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, the weather plays such a huge part, and most people don't realize that. And so, if we get a wetter than normal fall, when Augusta National is trying to grow in ryegrass, it's going to be difficult. Even with all the resources they have, Mother Nature's going to win. So we hope that doesn't happen, and I'm sure everything will be great. I look forward to watching it. I miss having it. So, but yeah, we are fortunate to be very close to our original date.
Yeah, awesome. So one thing about the course, I mentioned it earlier, and I'm sure you get this a lot, but for people that don't know, so originally the course was set up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as I recall, the course was originally designed and set up the way that it plays now. Meaning that number one, it's the first hole on the left, right, and going over the pond. That was the original number one, and then over time, the nines were reversed. So you started on the right side by the clock. And there was a decision made to reverse it. Well, so I think the biggest caveat there, again, for me, that from an amateur's eye, is today you finish on a par five versus before the move you finished on the long par three. It probably tips out at 235, 240ish.
Yep.
So a hell of a par three to finish on, and then and now you're finishing on a par five, and it probably tips out at 580 or 90, so close to 600, I guess. So
yeah. I mean, I think that if you look back at the history of the golf course, since we reopened in '95, the golf course played with finishing on the par three, and so but prior to that. Dating all the way back to 1904, the original architect was Tom Bendelow, and the golf course was routed completely different. And it was changed for the Ryder Cup by George Cobb in the 60s, and then Reese brought it kind of back to the original Donald Rawls scheme back in the early 90s. So, since we reopened as Eastlake Golf Club, it had always been played with 18 being a par three. And then as time wore on with the Tour Championship and with ratings and with really dynamics of scoring, it was the main contributing factor. The front nine or the back nine now just plays easier, and there's more volatility in scoring. So that was really the reason that we wanted to do that, because it was going to be good for the excitement of the tournament, and we've seen that. You have the 15th hole, the Island Green par three now is on the back nine.
Yep.
Versus on the front nine. So just the element of volatility is what everyone wants, including mainly television. They want that dramatic up and down, and the scores are just more volatile on the backside, which is the main reason we did it. 18, we actually there's a tee that we don't usually play in the tournament, which is the very back tee, and it really depends on the wind, because we want every player to be able to kind of get the same benefit of that downhill shoot. And so depending on the wind, we actually modified the second to back tee and made it about 20 yards deeper back in 2016. So the tour would have the ability to set it up. I called it the Johnson rule. They didn't publicly call it that. You wanted Zach Johnson and Dustin Johnson to kind of have the same kind of shot in. And if you tip it all the way out, there's many tour pros that will not be able to get it over the hill, and it would just be a much different hole for them. So, it was an interesting process to go through. It's turned out to be great. We actually changed the routing about 2 to 3 months before, and we surveyed, I think, probably every player, but mainly every caddy that worked during that time, because the players would talk to the caddies, and the players may tell me one thing and the caddy something else, and just to see if what would be the downside if we wanted to do this permanently, because I knew that if it worked on television, then everyone would want to play it that way, and I didn't want to play the golf course two different ways.
Have to mix it up, and
we didn't want that, so we tried to head that off of the pass. The only negative that I've heard is if you tee off on number one now early in the morning, certain times of the year, you're hitting right into the sun coming up.
Oh yeah.
But outside of that, there's really been no negatives, and it's been great. It's been great. It's helped our pace of play. It's helped a lot of things. So we're well pleased with the decision.
Yeah, the few times I played it, again, I played it both ways, and I did not enjoy finishing on that par three that, I've got to hit, hybrid, maybe 5 wood to get there. So if I was having a crappy round, it's definitely probably, I'm not getting any strokes back on that, which now, if I'm having a decent round, I can, potentially I can score on 15 or at least not, or I'm sorry, on 18, but at least not lose strokes, So, I think it absolutely. I think that's a solid move. And again, it's best of both worlds, right? I mean, your regular activity, they like it, and it's good for TV. I mean, it's a great opportunity to make a move. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time, or have spent a lot of time, especially this year, with the way that the clubhouse in the area surrounding 18 looks. That's the finishing hole of the PGA Tour. What can we do to make it, fitting of that? What can we do to help with, some things associated with the tournament? So, we actually have done some things that if you haven't been out there in a while, you'll notice when the telecast is there that looks a little different. And there's a plan in place to continue to kind of make that, version of make that kind of silhouette of the clubhouse help frame the PGA Tour season. It's such an iconic building, and so we've done a lot of work on that you'll probably notice in the telecast. You'll notice we relocated, a flagpole down there, and so now when you're playing 18, there's a gigantic, American flag that frames off of the side. That it's really more fitting of the environment we wanted to create.
Yeah,
now,
nice.
We thought we'd have 5,000 fans around it. We'll have probably 5 people around it, but it'll still, that's the vision that we're going for. It'll continue to kind of morph into, we'll never be able to replicate the Tiger scene, but that will always go down in history of where that happened, and it's just been, we want to continue to make it better.
Well, I don't know. He's got a chance this weekend.
He does. Yeah, he does.
But it's going to be tough to digitize fans on a golf course, like they're doing in basketball. And I guess we could have cutouts, but I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, for sure. Let's see. Anything else? So I got some questions I want to ask you, but before we get into that, anything else you want to share about the course or about the tournament? I mean, feel free.
No, I think that what I would say is, we're going to miss having, for those people that are listening, we're going to miss having fans there, and we appreciate everyone's loyalty over the years of having an event every single year. We've got great fans in Atlanta. Atlanta sometimes gets knocked as being not a great sports town, but Atlanta's where that scene with Tiger happened, and all those, or most of them, were people from Atlanta. That embraced Tiger and then kind of propelled him to victory down the fairway. So that's the first thing I would say, is that we're going to miss seeing you. We appreciate the support that you've shown over the years, and there's ways that you can support us virtually, that there'll be broadcast during the telecast, of ways that you can still support our charitable partners, because that's the real reason that we do the event. So and some of the beneficiaries of the money that we raise, has been disproportionately impacted by COVID, and so raising money is more important this year than maybe any other year. So those were the two things that I would say. And, to our partners at the PGA Tour, we have really worked hard with them to create the environment that these kind of events can happen in. And we fully expect that as soon as it's safe to do so, that trajectory will continue, and it'll make the Tour Championship even gain more stature in the golf schedule and in the minds of the players.
Yeah, well, the Eastlake Foundation, again, I'm pretty close to the neighborhood there. Actually, after college, I lived just across the street from you, off of Glenwood Road. So the Eastlake Foundation, it's fabulous in what it's done to the community, and in giving back. And if you look at, if you were around 20 years ago, or maybe 25, and then you look at the neighborhood today, it's definitely lots of changes that's happened. So it's not just a golf course. It is I would say, a community-centered, I'll use the word foundation, right? But it is about, bringing back and revitalizing what was a not very, not a fun community, and it's turned it into, if that's a fair statement, it's turned it into a place that people want to be, and it's good for everybody. So
agree.
Well, if I couldn't be any more stoked about the event, I am now that you're making the changes the way it finishes it up. And I'll tell you, Cal and I were talking yesterday in terms of just this finish we're coming towards with your event being the last one, and just the different people that are leading in the FedEx points or leading as the official world number one. You see, it was Rory, and then Rom took it for a week, and then JT took it, and then Rom took it back, and then then DJ takes. It's just like, I don't know the last time we've seen this type of volatility in terms of these leaders, and it just makes it even more fun to watch as we go into the last week of the year.
Yep, and I mean that's really what the tour envisioned when they created the FedEx Cup playoffs. Now 13 years ago, I guess. That's what we want, and we want the playoffs to mean something. We want but it's got to first mean something to the players, and now that it does, and you hear people talking about my goals for the year are to make it to Eastlake or make it to Atlanta. That's what was envisioned from the very beginning, and so we're uniquely kind of situated to host a 30-person event. I mean, with our facilities, the size of our range, where we are in terms of the infrastructure, it's a good fit. And then we have the charitable message on top of that. It's great. So we're excited. You can tell that every year that we've hosted it, the pressure gets a little more and more because. In terms of the players and how they're preparing. I was being interviewed for something else, and I was talking about, the Saturday night in 2018 before Tiger won on that Sunday. He was the last person on the property. We had closed the clubhouse operation down, and we were basically sweeping up. And look out on the putting green, and he's down there with his caddy. Putting these 6 and 8 foot putts, with maybe 4 or 5 inches of break on them, until basically the sunset.
Wow.
And he knew that he was going to have to make those the following day to win, and he did. So, we see guys like that grinding out, to the very darkest hour. It's pretty impressive. So we're excited about hosting it, and I agree that the changes and how the rankings are going is very exciting. I was great. I mean, one of the most compelling things for us yesterday was watching Louis Oosthuizen. He got in on the number.
Yeah.
He's been to Eastlake a lot, and one of the nicest guys I've ever been around. You just want to see guys like that do well. There's a couple other guys like Kevin Streelman that's in the field, Webb Simpson, who's playing great this year. I mean, they're nice guys. They're great guys. And both Kevin and Webb played in Stuart and I's event in Florence before, so I've gotten to be around them. And they're just you like to see folks like that do well. And then you got I think 3 out of the UGA program that are in the field: Kisner and Brendan Todd and Harris English. Who Harris lost his card last year, or he lost status, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
And shoot, he's playing lights out, and he'll be there. He's like number 12th or 13th on the list.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of storylines.
I think all 3 of those guys, they're a couple of them, I think they're going to be there, but all 3. And I think they've got a chance to win the tournament. I mean, Kisner won it 2 years ago, I guess, when Rory won was it 2 years ago, I believe? Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin hasn't won the tour championship. He's been there many times, but he hasn't won the event. But I don't know how many years in a row he's been there. It's been a few.
Yeah.
And Harris, when he first came on tour, I think he made it a couple times too. So it'd be good to have those guys back, and have some hometown boys in the field.
Well, it definitely is meaning a lot to these guys these days. Even all these great guys are going to be there, and Streelman and Kisner and all these guys. And we saw DJ, who just won last week, say early in the year, I think it might have been before or right around the before or during that break, right on that March timeframe. He said he wanted to skip the Olympics because he wanted to focus on the FedEx Cup. And it's just showing how much this means to these guys.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw during the TaylorMade event, Rory kind of talked a little smack early on about how he had won 2. Don't forget, guys, I've won 2 of these things, and it's getting to be that it's getting to be more competitive, like you're saying. Absolutely, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't played any of the courses that they've played. I played Hilton Head, but outside of that, I haven't played any of the courses that they've played since the comeback. If you were to relate Eastlake to any of the courses that they've played, sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. We can move on. But if you had to, I would say, for me personally, I would say, and I haven't played Augusta National, but I would say Eastlake and Augusta National are very similar. I don't know that they've seen anything. I mean, if I had to compare, I mean, I'd probably say like maybe a Harding Park would be the closest thing that you'd get to it. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, or?
Well, I think it depends on what you're talking about in terms of similarities. I mean, weather plays such a huge part. Like Harding Park, for example, the weather played, the way that the area is out there and the way the ball flies is so different than
That's
most
true, yeah.
places you go. But I have not played Sedgefield, but and which the Wyndham was at last 2 weeks ago or last week, or 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, their greens are the same as ours, Bermuda rough. That's going to be the closest that they've experienced, and a lot of guys played it because the schedule was so concise. I'll say this about the way that we've seen people prepare. These days, tour players, I mean, they are so dialed in. It doesn't really matter where they are, and they're going to be concerned about a couple things: weather, and they're going to be concerned about the type of grass on the greens and the type of grass in the fairways in terms of the balls rolling, and then how the rough's going to play. And they're going to practice. They're going to think about it like that. And so, for instance, a typical pattern in terms of warming up, you say, I have people ask me all the time, it's like, oh, I'm sure, these people stop by all the time for practice rounds. And the answer is no, they don't. They get there. I think since I've been there, I think we've had one player ask to play before tournament week in 19 years.
Really?
And it's they play a lot of golf. And so they'll get there. The first thing they do is to make sure their equipment's the way they want it. So all the reps are there. They get their set the way they want it. They get dialed in. They make any changes with their swing coach. They play 9 holes 2 days in a row, and then they tee off.
Yep.
Then the caddies are out working on the greens, and if there's any new areas they need to talk about, they'll do that. But it's pretty much a plug and play from what we've seen, and it's really about the relationship the players have with their coaches and their trainers and their caddies, and they kind of stay in that little tight group, and it doesn't really matter where they are, but weather does play a huge factor. Like San Francisco would be a huge thing. When they used to play, when Florida swing in the wind, you can't really prepare for that, but you can practice in the wind. So they're more concerned about that kind of stuff, and then any kind of just abnormal things. Like a lot of them have not played Olympia Fields because I think the last time the event was there was 2003. Yeah. And so I'm sure they'll see up in Chicago, and we've talked to those guys about what they were doing. You'll see more practice rounds, more work on the golf course there because they haven't been there.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So I want to shift gears on us for a second. So I was doing a little homework on you.
Oh boy.
And well, hold on. Before we go there, what's in the glass? I got to know that.
It's whatever that you dropped off at the gate.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. So that's a blend that I do. Yeah. Mellow Granddad. Yeah. So that's a blend that I do. It's mellow corn and Old Granddad 114. I hope you like it.
Delicious.
So, yeah, it's kind of my house blend that I keep in a decanter. I guess I just let the secret out so now everybody knows what it is. But everybody's like, "Damn, that's good, man. Where do I get it at?" And I'm like, you only get it here. so yeah, exactly. I'll have to change the blend up on them. So I have to work on something else. But I want to get into Parker's Pickles.
Yes.
Give me the story. I mean, we've got a certified barbecue judge. I love barbecue. I have no idea how you do that and what is that? I mean, so one, you went to MSU. We got your Alabama. So I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. But to take it to that level, you won the Atlanta Barbecue Festival, first place with ribs. So give me the story. Give us a story.
I'll start with Parker's Pickles. My dad was the youngest of 10 kids, grew up on a farm, and growing up, he always had a garden in in the house that I grew up in. Still does, still has a garden, and he always, growing up on a farm, you didn't throw anything away. So if you had extra whatever, you would can it or put up would be the country term for it. Right. And so as long as I can remember back, he always made pickles, and and they were delicious. And he did tomato juice and salsa and all kinds of other things just out of his garden. And kind of later in life, feeling a little nostalgic, I was like, I don't have room for a garden, but I sure would like to learn to make these pickles. And I started doing that, and there for a while, I thought that I was going to try to do some sort of business with it, but I just quickly realized that we actually went to UGA, took a class on starting a food business in Georgia, and there's all these regulations and stuff. And I was like, listen, this is something that's fun for me. I don't want to make it something that's not fun.
Don't turn it into work, right?
Yeah. I got enough work to do. So, so I just do it in the house, and I give them away. Mainly. Actually, yesterday, I went on a search for dill. The DeKalb Farmers Market was out. It's been out the last 3 weeks. So I actually went to the Buford Highway Farmers Market, and if you haven't been there, it's quite an experience.
Oh, I've been to both.
Yeah. And Buford had dill, and they had plenty of pickling cubes. So as soon as I'm done here, and after I cook dinner, I'll be making pickles tonight.
Okay.
And so Parker's Pickles, is a passion of ours, and I've got people texting me and asking me suddenly, hey, when can I get a jar? I need a fix, blah blah blah. And I'm out myself, so it's time to make some. So that's the story with Parker's Pickles, and it's just a hobby, but mainly it's just a tip of the hat to my family's legacy of growing up on a farm, and it's a way for me just to remember that I'm only one generation away from my dad who grew up on a farm, worked the fields, got out, went to college, became a pharmacist, but that's one generation away from a much different lifestyle.
Sure.
And I just want to be able to remember that. I've also been known to do okra every once in a while too.
Oh, cool.
So anyway, it's just a passion, and I love doing it.
I like my pickled okra spicy, by the way.
My pickles and okra are spicy.
Yeah, well, I was going to say there's actually only one way to do it. So, if you said, hey, let me have some pickles and they weren't spicy, I'd be like, I don't know if he knows I don't know if he's doing. Yeah.
They're spicy. I'll make some without spice for a few friends of mine that don't like spicy food just in general, but I'd rather not do that. But they're just basic, garlicky kind of pickle. But
yeah.
It's something that I really enjoy doing. And in fact, Stuart Sink had a charity event up at the River Club for about 8 years, and he called me one day and he's like, "Hey man, would you consider making pickles that we could put in the gift bags?" And I said, "Well, how many pickles are we talking, Stuart?" And he's like, 200 quarts. And sometimes I've been known to procrastinate, wait to the last minute. And, I tell you what, finding 200 quart jars, mason jars, like 2 nights before you need them, is not easy. But I went to, I think,
how many grocery stores do you go to?
I went to 11 different Publixes to get them. I'm sure their reports, like whenever the manager got the reports, are like, what in the heck is going on in Atlanta with the quart jars? But we made them, and then every year, and then finally I just told them, because it's usually right around this time, and I finally said, man, I can't. So last few years we've had people come over and help, like slice because I'm making them everything from scratch. Everything is hand sliced with a mandolin, the garlic and everything is stuffed, and we're boiling the brine and all that. It's a production. And he decided. It
sounds like a party, is what it sounds like.
Well, it is, but it's just been so much fun to do it, and like I said, I don't really want to do it as a business. I like doing it for a hobby.
Yeah, awesome.
That's really cool.
So barbecue. So are you an Alabama guy or are you a Georgia guy?
In terms of
what kind of sauce you using?
Style? Well, it depends on what meat. Stuart and I and Stuart's swing coach, Mike Lipnick, who's at Sugarloaf, we have a competitive barbecue team called Q School, QUE School. We're all golfers.
Yeah, sure.
You get the reference. There's no Q School anymore, but obviously that's the reference. And so we cook in Kansas City Barbecue Society competitions of KCBS, and you cook 4 categories. You cook pork butt, ribs, brisket, and chicken. So we have kind of sauces that we do for each. But if you ask me my favorite sauce, I would say Alabama. And while it's a little more in vogue nowadays to see an Alabama white barbecue sauce on a menu somewhere, that wasn't the case until very recently. And the county that I grew up in is just one county away from Bob Gibson's barbecue, where that white sauce started.
The white sauce, Bob made it famous. So that's
where it started. And Chris Lilly, who now runs that enterprise, we're buddies with him. I would call Chris my barbecue sensei. Whatever he says, I'm going to do. But So, I mean, we cook, my favorite thing to cook is chicken thighs and serve it with that white Alabama barbecue sauce and some dill pickles on the top. It's really good. But, for competition is different. It's, you have to try to figure out what the judges want. And I would tend to go more on the dry side on ribs and with a little bit of sweet, kind of a Memphis style rub on the kind of a Greek style, like a rendezvous is kind of a Greek style seasoning. Mm-hmm. But, we've chased every possibility that you can imagine. And one year we did catch lightning in the bottle when we won the rib division of the Atlanta Barbecue Fest. So
that's awesome.
It was pretty cool.
And Q School still up and running?
Q School is still up and running. We have not competed this year. The last time we competed was last August. Stuart and I cooked when he was injured last year. We cooked down, I think it was in Peachtree City, and it was like a combination barbecue festival and like bike kind of thing, like not motocross, but anyway, it was wild, the atmosphere. But we went down and cooked in that, and we actually finished 4th in chicken in that contest, and we finished 11th in brisket. And that was the only contest we did all year.
Yeah, nice.
But it was mainly about hanging out, having a few beers, and we rented up at like a big, an RV, and we slept in that. And but yeah, we're still. I haven't done anything this year, just because of COVID. But
yeah.
We'll cook at the drop of a hat if we can.
It's like, I don't know, cooking golf. It's like, well, if we play golf early enough, then we can just cook in the afternoon, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I went up to for Stuart's birthday. A few of us went up to his lake house, and that's exactly what we did. We got up and we had a brisket. We put it on his egg. We went and played golf. Came back. It was time to do some more stuff on the brisket. We cooked ribs. We cooked chicken. It was like a perfect weekend. It was really a lot of fun. So
it's like, how do I get to do that every weekend? It's like that. That's what my job needs to be.
That's what retirement should look like, for sure.
Right.
And it will for me, I know. But one of the most fun things that we've done with that chicken thigh I told you about. A friend of mine, Adam Evans, who used to be the chef at the Optimus, and now he's moved on to Birmingham. Adam's from Muscle Shoals, which is near Florence, and we got to know each other later in life. And one night, probably over a few drinks, we started talking about cooking, and I said, "Man, I love to cook. Can I come up and watch you cook one night at the Optimus?" And he's like, "Oh, sure, come on down." And so, I worked the line at the Optimus. I
really?
I was in between the two stations. I learned how all the tickets worked. I was in the kitchen prepping and all that. And out of that kind of came a friendship, and we created a chicken sandwich called the Underground Chicken Sandwich, which we've cooked. So it's a chicken thigh, it's Alabama white barbecue sauce, a potato roll, and my pickles. And we've cooked that thing kind of, let's just call it a pop-up style. Yeah. Maybe 8 or 10 or 20 times in the last few years. And we'll sometimes just show up and fire up the smoker, cook 40 pounds of thighs until they're gone, and then we just pick up and go. But it's been a lot of fun doing that. Again, not trying to make any money, it's just something fun to do. I've cooked at some places that would surprise you. One of the most interesting places we cooked was at the Starlight Drive-In for the Atlanta Music Festival or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And I remember an actor named Robert Meacham, I think his name was, who was famous way back in the day. They were showing his movie, and he came up to our pit drunk as hell, demanding to be paid, demanding a sandwich for free. And I was like, "I'm not giving you a sandwich for free. I don't even know who you are." But it's $5, just like everybody else, man. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun with that.
Nice.
That's very cool. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Hey, man, the things you learn about people that you would never, you'd never coin it, right? It's like, but I don't know. It's like Alabama, Mississippi, and golf. I can find some similarities in there. I can see where it comes from, but yeah, definitely fun. And let me know when you're doing that pop-up again. I want to get one of those chicken sandwiches for sure.
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram. One of the most fun things we did was, we were supposed to do it again this year. We cooked for the Atlanta Food and Wine Festival. Oh. And they had a Chris Hall, who is a chef at Local 3, and he's just a general badass guy in town. He did a barbecue event. He asked us to come, and we did it. And it was so much fun because it was a kind of as I would call, kind of a highfalutin crowd of winemakers and stuff. And I brought one of our assistants actually from Eastlake to help me. And I was like, I said, I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen. People are going to come over and look at what we're doing. We're going to have our T-shirts on and our sunglasses, and they're going to kind of, turn their nose up us. And then what's going to happen is a few people are going to taste this, and then we're going to get busy. And then people are going to start drinking wine, and we're going to get really busy. I said, just watch it. I said, by the way, and this guy's single, and I was like, just watch it because there's going to be some people pulling on you by the end of the night. It totally happened exactly like that. We completely sold out of all the chicken. My favorite thing that happened, there was like a young woman that every time she came up to the booth, she would pretend like it was her first time. She was like, oh, well, what is it you have here? And I was like, you've already been over here 6 times. You know exactly what we have. You're welcome to have another one if you want.
You don't have to pretend. Like, just take it, right?
Yeah. So we stole out of that. I mean, stuff like that. That's just so much fun to do. It's and again, not trying to make any money. People were asking me like, "Where's your restaurant? Where's your? Do you have stickers? Where's your merchandise?" I was like, "I don't have any of that." I mean, I did make some stickers because people asked for them, but
right.
So the next time we do something, we'll have stickers. I mean, you sent me a sticker for your podcast, so
oh yeah, for sure.
And I put those stickers all over our barbecue tubs of all the different things that we've done. So it's just fun. I mean, I think it's really important in life to have outlets that are outside of your job. That your job can define you and it can really weigh you down. And if you allow that to happen, you can be really unhappy. And so having outlets like this for me and for our team, it's just so far outside of our ordinary jobs. But it's sometimes there's crossover, and so that's really neat when that happens.
Absolutely. Well, Chad, so for the listeners out there, not to get too personal, but what's your daily in terms of your grill? What do you use for your grill bike as your daily?
So I have an egg at home, and then we have for our rig, we use an 84-inch Lang smoker. So it's on a 13-foot trailer, and we keep it behind the clubhouse at Eastlake. So if next time you're out there, you peek your head in the loading dock, and it's sitting right there. The folks down at Lang, put our logo on the front. They're great. They're down in near Sea Island. A lot of the Sea Island Mafia guys use them. They've got some home style sized ones, but the one we have is, it's my wife would never let me have it at home. I can promise you.
Hey, I got yelled at the last time I was snooping around Eastlake, peeking my head in doors I shouldn't be.
Let me know when you're coming, and I'll, hopefully we can fire it up the day you're there. But so yeah, we cook on that Lang. It's a stick burner. It's certainly not sophisticated, but we wanted to learn on that because it's a true craft.
Yeah.
I think pretty soon I'll get one of those pellet fed deals to have at the house.
Yeah.
The egg is really good, but it's limited in the cooking space, and so a lot of those pellet fed like a Traeger's and others, the way that they're designed, you can do more on them than you can on an egg. So I'm probably going to end up doing something like that, pretty soon. But I think it's important that whatever it is that you want to have, that you actually will use it, is what you should do. I mean, the egg is a commitment, and sometimes that's fine. I mean, you have a 6-pack, and it's a 6-pack kind of day, just in the cook, and then whatever happens after that happens after that. But but yeah, I enjoy doing on all things. One of the best smokers that I've cooked on is actually a Weber Smoky Mountain. It's like a $200 smoker, $250 smoker. You can get it at Ace, and that's what we gave. That's what we started on, and it's a great smoker. It's a cabinet style, or it's kind of a cabinet, not a cabinet, but a bullet style.
Yep.
I mean, I would highly recommend that for somebody just starting out. A couple $100.
Very cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I know Cal likes to do some grilling in his off time as well.
I do. I did. I was an egg guy for a long time, and I parted ways with the egg, and I went to the old gas grill, but I don't do much smoking anymore. So I'm more of, it's kind of steaks and chickens and such. So, it's more, I went from, spending several hours over the grill to, hey, if it's, an hour or so, that's about all the time commitment I'm into these days. Yeah. So,
I've got a gas grill too. I mean, I cooked steak last night on a gas grill. So there's definitely a time and place for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true.
So where can they find you on Instagram? You mentioned, is it Q School?
I don't think Q School, we have a Twitter
Okay.
account, and I don't think that we don't have an Instagram for Q School.
Gotcha.
We do for Underground Chicken. It's
Underground chicken.
Underground CHIX, I think, or something like that.
All right.
I have a problem with creating those accounts, and then sometimes we forget it. Actually, our original Underground Chicken account, the guy that created it, lost the password, so there's 2 accounts, and Instagram won't close the one that we don't want. So
Yeah, we'll take a look just for the listeners. If you want to find them, we'll take a look. We'll drop them in the feed so you can you can find.
I'm sorry, I should have been
them
better prepared, but it's
no, you're all good, man.
It's fun, and we'll post on the Underground Chicken where we're going to show up if it's something the public can do. But we cooked that thing at all over the place: Ponce City Market, Atlanta History Center.
Oh, nice.
Some guy's birthday party. It's been fun.
I thought you looked familiar.
Wasn't me if anybody got sick.
Well, hey, they didn't get sick from the food. I can promise you that.
Okay, fair enough.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, Chad, man, we appreciate great chat, man. Loved having you on. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. Can't wait to make it back out to Eastlake. What a great place. And unfortunately, I'm not going to make the cut for the top 30, so it won't be next week.
Maybe next year.
There's always next year. You never know. But yeah, man, I've enjoyed it. I know Dan has, and our listeners will as well. So I mean, I don't have anything else to part with other than thanks so much for coming on, and thanks for taking some time to share with our listeners. Great to get to know you virtually. Look forward to meeting you in person.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate you having on. Thanks for the goodie bag, too.
Yeah, cheers.